I thought just do like a cold open like The Office,
Mm. Should
where
I
I
do a
can put.
magic trick?
No, I was thinking I'd put your slide deck into a Jello mold.
Love
Welcome
it.
everybody. I see people are starting to file in, so I won't uh I won't I won't start things until it's been a moment so everyone can join us. But I'm really excited for this one. Today I am joined by Brian Gillette. And if you've not heard of Brian Gillette, I don't know what to tell you because Brian's a pretty big deal. Uh, he runs he runs a company called Feel Good MSP, and I just love the name because it makes me feel good just saying it. And he is he's the man. He has run sales for quite some time, and now he helps MSPs run sales for themselves. So, with that said, today we're going to talk about building a sales engine, right, Brian?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Joseph said, "There's no way if you run an MSP, you haven't heard of Brian Gillette. The man is relentless on LinkedIn." I don't know if that's a good thing or bad.
That does not sound like a compliment.
I'm sure he meant it as one,
They're
but
like, we get it. We get it. Selling. Okay, give me a break.
he said it's a compliment. The dedication is real, so that's good.
It's
Um,
hysterical.
all right. Well, hey, just to give you guys a quick heads up, we're gonna dive right into Brian's topic. We're gonna do a poll here. In about 20-30 minutes, I'll just kind of cut Brian off and say, "Hey guys, I'm launching the poll," and then you guys can do your thing, and then Brian will keep going through his presentation. I will talk about alternative payments after his presentation, and then we'll kind of wrap up and I know it says Q&A throughout, but I'm hoping we can wrap up with like this whole section of, I'm going to change its name today. It's no longer Q&A. That sounds, I don't know, stuffy. It's now an AMA. Okay, we're
Mm.
going to ask Brian anything today, all right? So, with that said, hello from Mexico. Hey Brian, welcome, different Brian. welcome, welcome to the session, man. So Brian, I am going to say, please take it away, sir.
Sweet. Okay. I'm looking at the names in the chat. Vincent, Todd, Sean, Ron. Hey, Ron Lilac. Todd Middlebrooks. That sounds like a fake name that the witness protection program gives you.
Now, look, Todd, are you from Albuquerque? That's. Did you guys ever watch? Oh, what was that show called? Um,
Breaking Bad. That's the show that matters in Albuquerque. It was a total joke, Todd. I was totally kidding.
I've had my whole life. Man, I have never met anyone who's been in witness protection since they were an infant. That's impressive.
What did your parents do? Who did they rat on? Okay.
Oh,
Ridiculous. Okay, everybody. Yeah, let's rock and roll. I did a webinar yesterday and I was waiting for the people to kick on. And in like 4 minutes, this guy goes, just get to it already.
yes.
And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, okay.
Dive in, man. Dive in. I got your deck up. You're good.
All right. So, sales intelligence system. I'm going to give the simple preface that there's a good chance I'm going to give you some information today that you want to hear and some information today that you don't want to hear. And I
I
think
don't want
that
that
means we did
information.
it. To the listener, I think if there's some stuff here that you're like, that's not really what I wanted, that means I'm probably telling you the right stuff. There's the conference and webinar junkies that I see that are kind of, they keep shaking the 8 ball, wanting a different answer besides you need to work really hard. But I'm not going to give you any weight loss pills today. I'm going to put you on a treadmill. That's the way you build a sales system. So that's my caveat is like, yeah, I know how to sell managed services. It's easy. Work really hard for a really long time and do a great job over and over again. That's the short answer. But let's talk tactically. By the way, at any point, Steve, if you, are you planning on peppering in any commentary or questions or anything as we go, or should I just power through for AMA at the end?
I am notorious for interrupting with questions.
Okay, good.
And this is going to be perfect for me because I am working on my approach at sales. So I am all ears, man.
Cool. Okay.
You have one very dedicated listener right now, at least.
That's all I need. All right. So, sales is a hard job. We know that. And I think it's important to always backdrop, like there's no version of selling that isn't hard at some point. But this is what I want to talk about. A lot of leaders, I'm assuming that we got a lot of sales leaders on, and I can see you in the chat. Put in the chat, tell me, are you a sales contributor or are you a business leader? Tell me in the chat. That's going to be helpful for me
I bet we're gonna have a lot of MSP owners in here today. I could be wrong, but that's gonna be my hunch.
I'm assuming that as well, but I want to know, which are you? Are you a lead? Do you own the business, or are you just a salesperson, or obviously are you both? Here's what I'm finding is most leaders are expecting short-term linear results from dollars spent. They come and say, I'm willing to invest as long as I can get a super clean, super visible ROI.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm going to tell you the first potential piece of bad news is that there is a good chance statistically, and this is anecdotal from my time in the channel, there's a good chance that you as a business owner have unrealistic expectations of your early sales contributors. You hire a first sales rep and you're saying, hey, I'm willing to give you some time, but I need to see results. And because you don't have a framework or mechanism against which to measure this person, you have to use other people's. So you're looking at other businesses who have more operational maturity than you, more market penetration, more dollars, more time in business, more human power, more processes that are established, whatever. And you're expecting to be able to keep up with your peers in the peer group, or you're expecting to use the same KPIs that they use. So you're saying, you think that just by all you had to do was shell out money on a salesperson, and now you feel entitled to results. If you said, hey, it's been 6 to 9 months, I haven't gotten a single result yet from my salesperson, I'm probably talking to you right now. Especially if you've done this more than once, you are the exact person that I am here to help. I don't want to be here insensitive. I'm not trying to be like a bully or talk. I don't want to take away the pain or the frustration of trying things over and over again. I just want to normalize, like, that's what sales is. Trying stuff and testing and improving and iterating. That's our job. You know? So again, I don't want to appear like suck it up, you know? Riley, this meet. I thought he was talking about a sales call. Riley says getting kicked out of our call.
Yeah. I see that. It's I wonder if Zoom is having some weird issues, because I bet your setup is working just fine, Brian, and I bet your internet's fine, but every now and then, like, your audio will cut out for me. And I don't think it's you. I wonder if Zoom's like overloaded and, I don't know, forgot to turn it off and back on or anything.
Okay.
But yeah, if that keeps happening, I'm sorry, Riley. I do not have an in with Zoom tech support.
And if my mic is not working or something, I'll change it up. But you guys just let me know.
Sure.
All right. So back on track. I want to talk about metrics. This is critical. Okay. What our goal is to build, again, a sales intelligence system, meaning we don't just want sales to be, we want sales to be successful. And so we need to understand what the definition of success would be for your sales effort, and then track whether or not we're on pace to achieve that goal. Rather than just saying, I hired 3 people and now I'm getting a buttload of clients, that's not going to succeed for you. Almost definitely. Managed services is too difficult of a sale. Sales is hard, and selling managed services is a particularly hard sale. It's one of the hardest professional services I think there is to sell, because it's one of the most difficult to understand for the average end user. So there are two different types of metrics that I want to talk about. This is pulled directly from what's called 4DX, the 4 disciplines of execution. I did not come up with this concept, but I find it incredibly helpful. We have lead measures and lag measures. Lead measures are the highest leverage actions or activities that you have to accomplish your goals. Lead measures are the highest leverage actions or activities that can accomplish your goals. They are, as said another way, they are the predictive metric. Next, we have lag measures. Lag measures are historical measures of some sort of performance. They're easy, they're really easy to measure. They're really hard to influence. These are after the facts results. For example, how many new clients did I get last year? That's a lag measure. Easy to report. There's a field in your PSA or in your CRM that can tell you that information. But what we want to figure out is, why was that number where it is, and what could we have done to make that number differently? Those are lead measures that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Very often I find that MSPs are actually completely ignoring lead measures and they're only focusing on lag measures. They say, what's my ROI going to be? Hey, I want to invest $10,000 in a salesperson. I want to get an ROI. They're fixating on some number to help give them the confidence that they're going in the right direction. And oftentimes what they end up doing is suffocating any of the momentum that they're slowly building.
That makes sense, but I guess, if I put my 15 years ago hat on, I'm going to time travel for a minute and tell you my frame of mind, my mental state. Besides crazy. Lead measures seem impossible. And I don't know if this is because I was the IT guy turned business owner, so I had no training. Maybe this is because I'm not a salesperson. I'm more of a technical person. Or maybe it's just because I think about things differently than other people. So I don't know which one it is, but I'm going to tell you that lead measures seemed impossible to me, because that felt like I was trying to predict the future. And how could I possibly say I'm going to get 7 new clients this year when I have no idea what the future holds?
Great question. You're right. It is all of those reasons why this was hard for you. However, a lot of those things you described were not supporting you in growing your business. Mm-hmm. The only way to affect outputs is with inputs. Let's think of it that way. Think of this as binary for a moment. The only way to affect your outputs is to affect your inputs. Now, if it helps, there's only 3 levers that you can pull when you're trying to grow a business. These are the types of, these are going to be categories of lead measures, if you will. I have a whole slide with examples I'm going to get to in a second. Actually, let's start there. Hey, look, leads and lags. How many cold calls have you made? That's going to be a direct impact. Right here, I have it tied to clients 1 per quarter, but I think a more linear approach is going to be, how many first-time appointments do you go to? So what you can do is you can make cold calls consistently, as an example, and then every time you get an assessment, make a note and track that over time. So then we look back over 90 days, how many cold calls did you make, divided by how many assessments did you book? Well, now we have a KPI. It takes 1,000 cold calls to get a new assessment. Then we can measure our assessments against the next step in the process, which I'll go in a minute. But we look at each of the major pillars of our sales funnel. Let's say there's 3 that you go from assessment to due diligence to proposal to close, something like that. Well, we know how many assessments did we run, how many of those did we do due diligence on, how many of those did we generate a proposal for, how many of those signed. Mm-hmm. And now you have a stream of lead and lag indicators, because one KPI can be both a lead measure to the next KPI down the sequence, and it's a lag measure of the previous sequence, a previous indicator in the sequence.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're daisy chaining together pieces of intelligence that inform the next piece of intelligence, And we can look at this thing like a true pipeline and then say, okay, if I know, for example, I'm going to tell you what we learned. It took an average of 500 cold calls to book an on-site consultation. The reason we tracked it that way was that my cold caller also ran my first time appointments. And I got involved once we had the on-site meeting, which was like we called it the consultation. So we went discovery, consultation, pre-close, which is a different meeting, and then presentation. Those are the 4 meetings of the Feel Good Close. So he ran the discovery. Then he would pass the mic over to me. I would run the consultation where I'd go on site, take a picture of their server, walk around, talk to them. We knew that he had to make 500 dials, not connections or conversations, because he couldn't affect that. He didn't get to pick how many people answered. He could only pick how many people he called. So we went based off of what does he have control over, how many times he picks up the phone, and then how many of those does he convert? On average, it took us our 6th dial into a company, got a on-site consultation. So we did 6 calls in 6 weeks because we knew it takes an average of 6 calls into one company, 500 total dials. So you can do that math. That's like whatever, 80 companies or something like that. And we're going to find whatever that number is. Times 6 to get to 500. That's how many companies we need to talk to. We can get one of them to do an on-site consult. Then I knew 57%, that was my career average in my MSP. If I walked on site, 57% of them signed a contract. And that's much higher than the average industry average, but you should be aiming for, I would say, 1 in 3 when you go on site. So 500 calls to 1 appointment, 3 appointments gets 1 close. That means, guess what? You need 1,500 dials between now and your next customer. So now we know how many customers do you want. Let's start to inform how many dials you make a day. If you're making 20 a day versus 100 a day, it's going to take you a lot longer. It's going to take you 75 days, business days, to close a client, which is 3 months, over 3 months, versus 100 dials a day. It's going to take you 2 weeks.
Holy cow. Like, I didn't, pardon my ignorance, I didn't realize that you could do all this like math to just figure out. I mean, I've heard it before, but you just broke it down in a way where it actually made sense for once. You know what I mean?
Good. That's the goal, Steve.
Good.
I'm not hearing from anybody in the chat, so they're either deep in thought or they're closing tickets and this is on their 3rd monitor.
Yeah. I mean, I'm paying attention. Again, I mean, they're all just icing on the cake. I'm the cake.
You always manage to bring up cake.
Do
Great
I?
job. Made some great cake joke last time you interviewed me for that other thing we did. Anyway,
That is hilarious.
This is 500 calls to 6 discoveries, 2 closes. Is that correct? Yeah. We actually 500 calls booked us one on-site consultation. And then so 1,000,
500,
we were about 1,000 or about 900 dials per customer.
Yeah. Now, like Brian, you're in what, like LA? You're in California somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you could have completely different results if you're in like Nebraska or New York City, or, you know, like, everywhere is completely different. Right. But
yes.
Would you say that these are numbers that most MSPs achieve? Every 500 calls is 1 on-site discovery, or do you have a lot of MSP, like when you're done with them, are they achieving this, or are they achieving this already if they're at least measuring it?
So that's a great question. And you're right. It really does change market to market, sales rep to sales rep, script to script. We're going to get into that quality and that's the next thing we're going to talk about. In terms of quantity, I have never personally trained a sales rep that didn't quit within the first month, who didn't book an on-site consultation within 30 days of making calls. Never. And I've probably trained a dozen sales reps. I have always had a sales rep book and the first meeting is usually a bad meeting. It's usually somebody who's small, kind of a tire kicker, but that's not what it's about. It's about getting them to go through the motion, increased their confidence. Somebody said yes, they made something out of nothing. You give them an attaboy and you tell them, great job, keep going. By the way, look for these things. The first meeting doesn't have to be a perfect meeting. The first meeting just has to exist. Then what you did is you just you put your paw into a river and pulled a fish out. Now it might have left out of your grasp, but now you know I could catch a fish with my bare hand. That is so incredibly motivating to a sales rep. So to answer your question, if you're making about more than 500 dials to book a first-time appointment, then you probably have a quality issue, not a quantity issue.
That's exactly right, Brian.
Yeah, that was how we did it, Brian. So I mean, you could do the math, but I had, at one point, Jacob, my top sales rep, was between 250 to 500 CP, what do we call it? CPO, calls per opportunity. So he would book me 4 to 8 on-site consults a month, one guy, 100 dials a day. And my other sales reps were all booking 2 to 4. So if you do that math, I mean, we were bringing on like 4 clients a month at one point, and it was not a good idea. It sucked hard. And frankly, it was this is another story, but it was so cash intensive that I ended up laying off 4 of my 5 sales reps, because even though they were hitting numbers, it was costing us $10,000 to $15,000 to book 4K in top line MRR, which means we're clearing 2K on it, right? So you lose money for like 7 months on that month. It doesn't mean it wasn't worth it, but if you stack that up month over month, after 1 year, we were down like well over $100,000 cash on hand, but we were up like 50,000 MRR. So we realized like, oh, we cannot do it this way. Our cost per acquisition is too front loaded. So we ended up paring it way back to just our top performing sales rep, so that we could cash flow the sales initiative, rather than being like, we have to keep throwing money into the sales initiative, because we didn't have any money. So that's another story for another time. But
that makes a lot of sense, though.
This is what I want to say. Are you tracking lead measures, or are you just staring at underwhelming lag measures?
I'm pretty sure I was always the latter. I'm sure we've got at least one other person here who's just staring at underwhelming lag measures. Maybe not Riley, because he said he's the what did he say his title is? He's in charge of sales
officer.
Yeah, growth.
So like, I mean, case in point, you've got a marketing agency. Everybody does this. This is the best way that I know how to articulate the phenomenon I see, is that MSP owners who do not understand client acquisition feel entitled to new clients because they spent money on a sales or marketing initiative. You are not entitled to anybody giving a shit about you at any time. That's not how sales work. So just because you spent money on it, that doesn't mean you don't have to be great, be clear, be clever, be consistent, all the things you have to be. It's really important that you remember that. So if you're hiring, let's say you've got a lead gen agency, they should have their own metrics. Get reports. Ask them for their lead indicators.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just talked to one of them, and you would all know them by name. I won't say who it is, but I asked, like, what do you do? How much do you charge for MSPs? Because I was looking for agencies to refer my clients to, because I don't do lead gen. And I don't do done for you lead gen. And they were like, well, we get 100 people, we send them all a direct mailer, we call them all, and then link them, we send them this message, we expect X amount of meetings, and that's how we have this meeting guarantee. We guarantee you X amount of meetings in a year, or your money back, or we keep working until you get that number of leads. They have a process in place, and that's why that agency is a $75 million agency. You know, I'm not saying that everything they do is flawless, but they've clearly figured out how to sell by figuring out how to book meetings. Here's the thing. Some people will say, like, sales and marketing doesn't work in managed services. Okay, that is the most arrogant statement you could make. Sales and marketing works. Your sales and marketing doesn't work. There's a difference. Like, it's not like sales and marketing. We're all out here selling. Like, people are out here eating your lunch because their sales and marketing works. So the question is not, how do I make people care about managed services? It's what am I not doing that other people are? And how do I provide value to my marketplace? Does that make sense? And the sales intelligence is the foundation of all of this. We have to take the guesswork and the emotion out of it and treat it the same way you would your operation. You probably know how many seconds it takes for somebody to close a ticket. You know exactly how long it takes for somebody to pick up the phone on the press 1 for support, but you don't have any of this intelligence on your sales side. No wonder it's a big question mark.
So Tony asked the question, we're hiring an SDR. What metrics should I set for him? Now, I'm hoping that was a typo and he just forgot the S at the end of metrics.
Right. I'm assuming he forgot the S. So that's a good question. I need to answer that. I'm going to kind of continue on in a way I think is going to answer that question. And Tony, if I haven't answered your question, then you poke me again. But as an example, when you hire a sales rep and you say, go book me meetings. Hey, your job is to book me meetings. And they go, cool, how do I do that? And you go, you're the sales guy. That's not my problem. Book me meetings. You are setting them up for failure. You're giving them a lag KPI with no lead measures. What you should say is, give them quotas around things that they can control. I need you to make 50 touches a day. Here's the script. Here's what you say on the phone. Here's your battle card of what you give when they give these objections. Here's your 4-touch in 4-week email campaign that you can customize and do some research for so that it comes out different every time. Here's our LinkedIn DM campaign that we wrote for you that's tailored to the ideal customer profile we built. That's what being a sales leader is giving somebody all of these resources. Do you see what I mean? Imagine I'm a general contractor and I'm building a house and I hire painters and they show up and they go, where's the paint? And I go, you don't have any paint. That's not my job. Your job is to figure all that out. Just make my house pretty. Like, that doesn't work. You have to have walls that are up. You have to have the electrical done and the plumbing done and the drywall out of the way. You have to have those things in place. You have to give them tools and get everybody out of their way so that they can then do their job. Then you can tell if they've done their job well because they were set up to succeed. But if they were not set up to succeed, then what you're really doing is just walking the plank over and over again with SDRs who are doomed from the start because you have not given them any intelligence to know whether or not they're doing what they need to be doing. And this is what I'm getting at is there's the three levers, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And this is the answer to your question, Tony. Once you start to track data, which, by the way, you need a CRM. You can't run an MSP without your PSA, and you can't grow an MSP without a CRM, period. I'm sorry that you don't want to hear that, but you need a CRM that you actually use and information that you actually put into it that's clean, just like anything else. Any other part of your business, you need data that's the foundation of it. But now that you're tracking stuff, now you need to know this. Do I have a quantity issue or quality issue? For example, I told you how many, look, Joseph put some of his metrics. That's super helpful. Once, if I knew, hey, your job is to make 100 cold calls a day, and they go, I can't. And I go, okay, well, everybody else is doing it. So why can't you? If anybody tells you they can't make 100 dials a day, look, we did it with Autotask, with no phone burner, no auto dialer, no click to dial, no anything. They had to manually create an Autotask to do for every single call and manually create an Autotask to do for every single follow-up. And they still all made 100 dials a day. It was the only thing they did, but it can be done. So once we know everybody's making dials, and now I can start comparing, hey, Jacob has a 500 CPO, calls per opportunity. This guy has 1200 CPO. So we know if they're both making 100 dials a day, the issue isn't quantity. That's informing the lag measure, meaning how many appointments are they setting? It's a quality issue. One of them is doing a better job of the activity than the other one, but we can't infer that until we first narrow down the quantity issue. So here's the three levers. Are you ready? This is the three levers you can pull to generate new business, period. Number one, do the right things. Number 2, do them well. Number 3, do them enough. The right activities, how well you do them, and how often you do them are the only things in your control when it comes to generating outbound business. And frankly, marketing is exactly the same. Marketing is outbound. There's just a delayed asynchronous connection, so we call it inbound, but marketing is outbound. You put in a bunch of consistent efforts on SEO or content creation or paid ads or creative, all the crap you're doing, developing lead magnets, doing webinars like this right now. These are the kinds of like marketing in inbound and outbound is the same thing. It's just one of them is asynchronous and one of them is not. But now that we know the right things are like, you have to find strangers who don't know who you are, who are in the right demographics, and ask them if they have the problems that your product solves, be it via email, LinkedIn, in-person networking groups, cold calling, it doesn't matter. Paid ads. Those are the things that you have control over. Do that. Next, do them well. That is where everybody breaks down.
Well, it's because everybody has their own definition of well. So if I have to stop and remind myself, just because I think this graphic is superior to that graphic because, I don't know, my weird brain says so, one may perform better than another. And isn't that really the only metric that matters? It's not because I think one's prettier. And I think that's what a lot of MSP owners like myself would do when it comes to like their own sales metrics or their own marketing. Like, oh, I want this because I like how it makes me feel, not because I'm basing it off like any type of metric or performance or anything, right?
You're 100% right. That's what's beautiful about a performance-based job like sales or marketing. It's results. Like if you're good at sales, you close more deals. If you close less deals than other people, you're not as good at sales as they are. That's what being good at sales means. See what I mean? Like you know you get the result. It is a results-driven job. Now there is a layer of nuance I'm just going to pepper in here, which is kind of in the DNA of Feel Good MSP, is that not all things that get results are worth doing. There is some nuance where you want to make sure that the first goal is that it's successful. The second goal is that that's not 100% true. It needs to be successful, but it also needs to align with your values and your culture. Right? If you just wanted, for example, this is like people fixate on an individual KPIs. They want to increase their open rates. And they're like, all my job is increase open rates and then we'll get more meetings. But that is a correlation causation fallacy that is not true. Case in point, if I wrote an email, subject line, I have your son in my car.
That sounds terrible.
But guess what? It would get great open rates, wouldn't it?
It really would.
Everybody would open it and then they would kill you.
I had my son's friend is like spending the week hanging out. It's my son's birthday on Sunday. And I went to pick them up from their youth group thing they did last night. And we went to CVS to pick up the family's prescriptions. And I hand my son's friend the bag and I said, hey, can you do me a favor? Text that to Nikki, my wife, so she knows that we got them. Cause I didn't want her to like go out to the drugstore and try to pick stuff up that I already got. Right. So, he said, don't worry, I paid for it, and sent the picture. And she's like asking him a million questions because, like you said, I have your child, he's in my back seat. It's going to get massive open rates, but it's going to leave a lot of questions as to.
Right. This is the problem in my mind. This is going to be a shot right across the bow here, but like, I'll be honest with you, most marketing experts do not give good advice because they're not in charge of the finished product.
Right.
They're in charge of raising hands.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can get hands to raise by being like, email subject line, if you don't open this email, you're going to get hacked.
Yeah.
Okay, people read it, and now you're a schmuck. And you could use, so the premise here I'm getting to, what I'm building towards is you could use fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the same way that the best way to guarantee that you can influence someone's behavior is to tell them whatever they need to hear, regardless of its relation to the truth. If I, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I really want to make sure you absolutely buy from me, I would just lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not my end goal, obviously. So you can't get too stuck on these metrics here. And it is important that we contextualize the things that get results. Because like the Wolf of Wall Street was great at making sales. That doesn't mean you should look up to the guy, right?
I mean, I kind of look up to the guy.
Okay.
No.
I don't.
No, I don't. Not at all.
But you see my point?
No, I absolutely do. So here's a question for you. Oh no, did I lose it?
Uh-oh.
All right. So you said fear, uncertainty, doubt. I already can't stand FUD sales, right? So I don't want to do that with my technique, with my process, or with my marketing stuff. But what about your company's feel good MSP, right? So, you know, that makes you feel a certain way when you hear certain words. So if I were to say, I don't know how to say it, but I feel like there's a way to not use FUD, but to still like be negative. And it's not necessarily because you're trying to scare them. It's because you're trying to drive a point home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And is that ever something you would do, or is, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop. You go.
You don't have to be sorry. Let me tell you what I'm hearing you say is sometimes people need to hear things that they don't want to hear that are unpleasant.
Yeah.
That you are privy to, that they should be privy to. And what happens when they're taking massive cyber liability risks right now? Is it using FUD to tell them about their current level of exposure? Or is there a way to do that that still ennobles them, that doesn't bully, but can be effective in generating sales? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Thank you.
No problem.
Words,
that's what I do.
Words are hard. Mino, talk good.
So the 3 pillars of the Feel Good Close, which is our philosophy that powers the Feel Good MSP, are focus on the solution, fight for authenticity, build connection. And I argue if you do these 3 things, you'll be a great salesperson. The second one, fighting for authenticity, that's the magic sauce here. We have to be authentic. And part of that means we need to tell the truth, but it's about the spirit in which it's delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes what you do is not as important as why you do it or how you do it. And I'm going to give an example. It's a little bit of a jarring example, so forgive me. But what's the difference between disciplining a kid and abusing a kid?
One makes me feel bad and the other brings me joy. Like, what kind of, right?
Sure.
A twisted way to answer it.
But so the difference is the spirit in which it's delivered,
right,
and the intent behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you need to spank a child, whatever. Don't get at me. Some people spank their children.
We're good. We're going to gloss over that.
But there's a difference. I'll say it this way. There's a difference between spanking a child and hitting a child.
Right.
You see what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah.
And I know, again, this is kind of a jarring example. So I don't mean to be like intense, but to me, that's the difference, is that a true expert that is powered by, run by empathy, who's trying to truly help people, can have tough conversations, exactly like I'm doing right now. By the way, I'm telling people things they do not want to hear and why their salespeople are failing, and it's probably their fault, not the sales rep's fault. But the spirit in which I'm delivering it is not to try to bully you into buying my thing or to make you feel stupid. It's because I deeply, genuinely believe in you and want you to succeed, probably more than you even want you to succeed. And sometimes that means you do have to tell people things that are unpleasant. But that's why authenticity, to me, that's the word to use here, is like, hey, Mr. Customer, I feel like I kind of have an obligation to let you know about some things we found in our discovery phase. I'm going to just let you know right now, they're not super fun to hear. And regardless of whether you move forward with us, I do think that you should at least take the findings, which we're going to write out in a vendor agnostic form that you get to keep. I think I really urge you to take this seriously. But I'm sorry that I have to be the one to say some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, oh, okay. I mean, imagine if you just said that. You're head and shoulders above the other guy, but then you can read them the damning report on like you have huge risk, and the cyber insurance that you have does not cover any of the things that you think it does for these reasons. Here's the exact sublimit language that you need to know about, blah, blah, blah. So I hope that helps. Like, yes, getting the end result is important, but you can do so. You don't have to win the deal no matter what. You can be helpful no matter what and win the deal whenever possible. That's the pivot we certainly don't have time to get into the specifics of how to differentiate those things, but that should show through in the tactics as well. But regardless, whether you're good or bad at discovery, if you're not pulling these three levers we're talking about, the right things, doing them well and doing them enough, you're not going to have enough opportunities to even try. Thoughts?
Has anyone else's mind been blown yet? I see you guys are having such cool conversations in the chat. Our comp plan is 1 month of MRR paid out over 3 months, plus a scaling down base to build pipeline. So I was just curious, does that mean at some point they become commission only?
It should never be commission only. Probably doesn't. Probably just goes down to minimum or below market.
Got it.
Maybe he is, but yeah. And David, what's your OTE at that point though? What's your on target earnings when they're at 20K base? I have a
100K.
Okay, got it. So that means if they're hitting their number, they're earning 100, which means there's a whole infrastructure in place to help them successfully generate 80K in commission, which probably means they're doing something to the tune of $1 million in ARR. That's
just
probably
that one rep.
It's, I would think, right? It's because I think he said he pays 1 month MRR.
Yeah.
So 80,000 annualized is 960,000.
Wow. Okay.
I'm correct. I'm a math guy, Steve.
Well, I am too, but I guess, I'm not thinking about, because I don't know the sales stuff well enough.
Yeah.
So whatever. So
Yeah, David, I mean, that's cool. You oftentimes what you want the kind of general rules of thumb is that your OTE to LTV should be a specific ratio, and OTE meaning on target earnings. So what a salesperson will take home if they hit their quota. That's what OTE means. And oftentimes you want it to be 10 to 20% of the annual value that they're generating for you, especially considering, by the way, the lifetime average of that client is probably 10 years. They've generated for you $9.6 million in top line revenue, and you only paid them 100,000. I don't have enough context to actually give you advice, but what I'm telling you is they could do probably double that take home in another company with those same numbers. Oftentimes you can get about 20% of your annualized, because by the way, that doesn't even include probably you're probably doing onboarding fees, which is probably $100,000 in the top line revenue in addition to that. You're probably also generating somewhere between 350 and 500,000 in project revenue in year one over the 12-month annualized year one of those contracts. So if you look at one-time revenue against recurring revenue for a lifetime client at 8K MRR, that's like a lot of money. So anyway, it's just food for thought. A sales rep can usually earn 15, 20% of the like annual quota that they're taking home. So if you look at it as ARR, if they're doing $1 million in ARR, they should be able to earn 150,000 at least. Because think
is
about
this
it.
across the board, or is this just only work for MSPs because of our margins?
I'm amending that from the SaaS model of 20 to 25%.
Okay.
So yeah, but guys, the comp is pretty complicated. Sorry, didn't mean the pun, but there are a lot of levers here to pull. So I'm giving general rules of thumb. Like, I don't know enough, David, to tell David that he's right or wrong. What I do know is if somebody made you $1 million in annual revenue that's going to stay around forever, I would pay them whatever it takes to get them to keep doing that. And usually part of that pay looks like investing more and more and more into marketing to help that person then exceed and supersede their goals.
So it feels like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like we're having some really valuable conversation with the chat. What I'd like to do is ask, do you have like do you have like a final couple of slides that you wanted to show us before we kind of moved on and then got ourselves into the AMA section? So maybe we could just keep having these conversations.
Yes. Let me power through so let me like punctuate this like quality versus quantity thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do have a thing that I want to give these guys, or I want to give them the option to take it if they want, because it's actually really relevant, Steve. But I have oh wait, let me think of what I have. I'm trying to think of what I put in this bundle. I made a bundle for you guys of resources that's free. I was thinking the comp plan calculator's in it, but I'm sorry, it's not in this one. But I do have stuff for free that I want to give you guys. So yeah, I'd love to, let me again, punctuate these slides and then we can open it up.
Sure.
Are you guys seeing my slides right now or no?
I see. Do you have a quantity issue?
Okay. So now you're seeing his, but are they seeing it? Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, I just want to give you examples real quick, guys, of quantity issues versus quality issues. Quantity issues is you're not tracking your sales and marketing team time usage. If you're saying things like, what are they doing all day? And they work for you, that's your fault. This can turn into micromanaging really quickly if you don't have data in place, where they have to tell you every time they get up to go to the bathroom. You're too involved. If they have activity minimums for their daily and weekly goals, you don't have to stay on their ass all the time, because it's whether or not they're doing their job should be a clear, definitive line. They're either on track or not on track based off of resources that they can control. Then they know, I made my 50 calls today, so I'm going to take a long lunch. Then leave them alone. That was their job, was to make 50 calls today. Let them take a 90-minute lunch instead of 60 minutes, unless you're willing to pick up the phone and make 50 calls a day. Leave the poor girl alone. Low outreach. Look, if it's a full cycle SDR, if it's a full-time SDR, their only job is generate business. There's no reason they can't do 50 to 100 touches a day. Zero excuse. If you give them other things to do, they will always prioritize the other things over their outreach. That's why you should never have an SDR also manage accounts. Or if you tell your cold caller, hey, by the way, I need you to make sure the bathrooms are clean every day. They're going to start at 8 a.m. They're going to clean the bathroom, because outreach is hard. So if you have a account executive, which in our nomenclature, I would define that as a full cycle sales rep. They're in charge of sourcing pipeline and closing pipeline. Then that person, 25, 50 touches a day, that's a piece of cake. 25 touches a day, guys, it's a piece of cake. You can do 12 to 16 cold calls an hour easily without any automation or workflow optimization, which means they spend 90 minutes, 2 hours a quarter of their day doing outreach. They've still got 6 hours left to run meetings, update the CRM, all that other stuff. If they're doing less than that, you have a quantity issue. Or if they're booking all their meetings and they're only making 10 calls a day, then you got to ask, then why aren't you just booking 10 times more meetings and having them work way harder? If your closing rate is, this is supposed to say above 75%, not about. If your closing rate is above 75%, you have a huge problem. I'm going to pause for dramatic effect.
No problem. You have been going on quite a bit in the best way possible.
If your closing rate is 75% or above, it means that you do not have a high enough volume, period. And it also probably means that all of your deals are coming from referrals, which I'm just going to say this once and then move on. Referrals are not the same as outbound generated leads. People conflate these terms. They conflate qualified and ready to buy. People think that a qualified lead is somebody who's ready to buy. That is not what a qualified lead is. A qualified lead is somebody who is in your ideal customer profile. They're in an industry you support. They're geographically close enough for you to manage them, and they have issues. That's it. If they're not ready to buy today, it doesn't mean they're not qualified. It means they're in your pipeline. But people think marketing's job is to hand them slam dunks ready to sign a contract today. That's not what qualified means. Those are word of mouth. Those should be gravy on top of your sales initiatives. But you should have a irrigation in place that waters your crops, which is your sales process. And then when it rains, you get to save money on water that day. That should be your referrals. You shouldn't be waiting for rain to make sure your crops get water. You're going to be a very hungry farmer.
Reminds me, my grass is looking pretty brown.
You got to get out there. If you're only using one channel, you probably are leaving money on the table. I do like the idea of perfecting a process, or at least optimizing before you go wider. So start with either LinkedIn, cold call, or cold email. Get good at it, and then open a second channel. I got a lesson one time from a chess champion, and I said, "What's your strategy? And what's your strategy when you play white or black?" And he goes, "It's easy. I get every single piece on the board, and I attack with all of them at the same time." And I just really love that. Quantity, a quality issue. If you've got less than 1-3% reply rate on your email prospecting or your LinkedIn, email prospecting is different than email marketing. Email prospecting is actual written emails to people trying to get them to take action. Email marketing is like, "Happy Easter from us," with an HTML formatted thing. That's the purpose of email marketing is awareness. The purpose of email prospecting is conversion. If you're converting less than 1-3%, or getting a positive reply in less than 1-3, you've got a quality issue. Your emails are not written well enough or well researched. If you have more than 500 calls per first time appointment, you've got quality issues. You've got a script problem. You've got a cold caller problem. You've got a data problem. To get a first time appointment, really, you should not, at scale, after you've been doing it for 30 to 90 days, no, you should not have this problem. My cold caller right now, he was my cold caller in my MSP, and I just poached him, and he joined Feel Good. We were doing all this marketing stuff, and he was following up with all these like lead magnets and stuff. And then the other day he said to me, "I want you to give me 90 days. Don't tell me what to do. Let me do my cold call script, and let me just go for appointments." And I said, "Fine." He's booked more meetings in the last 3.5 weeks than the previous 90 days. He's booked 4 meetings in 3 weeks. And he said, "I've got like 3 or 4 in the hopper." He's the same guy who got me 4 to 8 on-site consults a month. He's making 50 dials a day. He's booking 1.2 meetings a week. That's not bad. And it's the same script we used in the beginning. I can't beat it. It's so freaking frustrating. I want it to get better, but we don't have one. And our MSP has sounded like this. "Hey, this is Brian calling from XYZ IT. How you been? You weren't expecting a call from me, and I'm calling you out of the blue. If I could give me 30 seconds, I'll tell you why I called. And if this is no interest, you can slam the phone on me. What do you think?" "Great, thank you. Again, I'm from XYZ. We're an IT support and phone service company. Typically, people in the Chino area work with us because they're," and then list 3 pains, "frustrated by their current IT provider. They're anxious about their cybersecurity. Don't really know what it means. Or they're really, they're confused with what AI is and how they get it into their business." I don't know if any of that sounds familiar. That was literally how we did it. And I still can't beat it. I've tried to rewrite that script 100 times. It works great. Just keep doing it over and over again. If your closing rate is below 25%, you've got a quality issue for sure of your first time appointments. I would say. Oh, well, that's not entirely true. Some people book FTAs who aren't in buying positions, so you have to have a long tail on that. Let's call it from your like consultation, your proper discovery. At least 1 in 4 of those should close with outbound blended with inbound. If not, you've got issues. If you've been running the same tactics for multiple years and it's getting less and less, you keep running the mailers and the aspirin campaign and you keep trying it and it's not working, you have a quality issue. You have to revise your strategy. And if you have been through your total addressable market multiple times without changing tactics, you've got a quality issue. You're going to run into some issues. We're almost done. I have to keep going though. I have to hit this. This is the last thought. Make your deal stages in your CRM match the meeting sequence of your sales process. So if you have 4 meetings in your sales process, you should have a stage in the pipeline for each of those meetings. People get this, they get crazy. They make 12 deal stages for like, thought about it. Then we're not definitely going to do it. And now then this is, and then a verbal yes. And then the other person's verbal yes. It's too much. Make a deal stage tethered to a specific activity. And you need to make sure that every single deal, you know how many days it's been in each stage. Any CRM can do this. There should always be a future activity scheduled on every deal. Working a deal to it, there's a definition for working a deal. Working a deal means there is a future activity scheduled. If there is no future activity scheduled, then you're waiting for that deal to close and you are not working it. Always have a next step scheduled. Know how many days that opportunity has existed, not just per stage, but overall, and track that over time so we can optimize how long does it take us to convert deals and what is the lead source. Make sure that you're collecting helpful data so that each deal has make sure that there's a clear last step and a clear next step on every deal. Update those deals every day, review them every week. And guess what? When you have done what I just said, micromanagement is officially unnecessary. Because if you see future steps, you know the deal's being worked. If everybody's hitting their activity metrics, their lead indicators, you don't have to bother them because they're doing their job. And then your job is to look at the data, match the KPIs and make sure that we don't have quality issues. And as long as the quality issues aren't there, you've got a very intelligent sales system.
That is so good, man. Now, are you going to be able to stay like a couple minutes over just in case?
Yes.
Okay. So what I want to do is, I'm gonna do a little segue. I wish I could do like one of those Linus Tech Tip style segues, but I have not figured out how to prepare one of those for these office hours yet. I'm sorry. However, what did I do? I accidentally hit a button that I shouldn't have hit. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm furious.
There we go. All right. Send live. Boom. So, for those of you in here that are already a partner of Alternative Payments, first, I'm going to thank you. Don't worry, I won't ask you to say anything like really awesome about us in the chat really quickly or anything. That would be weird, right? So, what I will say though is, for those of you who are not a partner of Alternative Payments, Brian has a really fantastic sales process that will help you run a well-oiled sales machine. What Alternative Payments is going to do is help MSPs with a well-oiled accounts receivable machine. So everything from delivering the invoice and or reminders about the invoice if it hasn't been paid yet, to setting up auto pay for all of your clients, to marking the invoice paid when they pay it, whether automatically or manually, to even creating the deposit in QuickBooks or whatever your accounting software is. We automate that entire accounts receivable process. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to launch a little poll. And it's basically asking the question, if you'd like to learn more about Alternative Payments, how it could help improve your cash flow for your MSP through personalized walkthrough, just, say yes, and we can have a, no obligation conversation. If not, no big deal. In a moment, I'm going to launch a poll while we are doing the AMA with Brian. And when we do that AMA, I'm going to ask you guys if you're interested in a conversation with Brian. So with that said, thank you so much, everyone, for answering that poll. I'm going to leave that up for just another moment. Brian, I'm going to switch back over to just you and me. Hi, how you doing, man?
Zen. Living the bonus.
You feeling good? Your brain hurting yet?
No, I usually do 2 or 3 of these in a day. I still gotta yeah, I have to stand. I'm standing at my standing desk because that helps me a lot. Channel the
Oh,
inner
good.
crazy.
I have a standing desk. I stood at it once. Uh, all right, let's dive into some of these comments, man. All right, so let's see. David said they're targeting at least 30 calls a day. And he said those are follow-ups. Any no answers, get an email and a text. Is that so? First, basic answer only. SDR, BDR, are they fundamentally the same thing?
Yeah, people use them interchangeably.
Okay. So, are the SDRs typically responsible for emails, texts, all that, or should they just be dialing?
Yeah, yes. Anything to book the meeting, to build the relationships for sure. Yeah, you got to be careful with text. I've never been super bullish on it because there's just so many like do's and don'ts, and people get like really butthurt sometimes when you text them. So I don't use it, but if your system works and texting works for you, I love that. But yeah, generating conversations, usually I would recommend a multi-channel outreach. So calls should be supported by emails or by LinkedIn.
And then, so when I think of, you said, what did you say, like 6 to 12 an hour? Was that the
No, you
number?
can get like 12 to 16 calls an hour.
I was really hoping to get that 6 and 2 in there. I just had them in the wrong order. All right. So 12 to 16 in an hour. So how does that look? Is that like, okay, I dialed this guy, they didn't answer. Now I reach out on LinkedIn, update my CRM, move on to the next one. And that was one dial essentially.
Yeah, good question. I would call that 2 touches.
Okay.
And I would make a note somehow in your CRM that you did both, however possible. But we'll do so yes. And a lot of the emails you should more or less templatize. So we use like a 4-touch and 4-week sequence where we have 4 scripts for the 4 sequential calls, and then there would be 4 voicemail templates that would align with it, and 4 email templates that you would send in the same sequence. I won't get into if anybody cares about like what I say in voicemails and stuff, put it in the chat. We can maybe get into that, but you should be able to like, now people just like do voicemail drops because they leave a voicemail like the same way every time. And email, you should be able to like at least paste in a starting email and change a word or two. So you can get pretty fast at that.
That's awesome.
And then the good sales reps are already dialing the next person while they're updating the notes on the previous call.
All right. Yeah. So that's probably where I would falter because I am the kind of guy where like, if I'm doing my note, I can't be paying attention to you. Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing my job well, I'm paying attention to the guy I'm on the phone with, which means I need to have that time in between to take my notes, which probably really means I'm not going to be as effective as of a salesperson because I'm not able to make as many dials. Or does it really matter on if I'm more effective while on the phone because I'm actually paying attention?
No, yeah, the tools now are so freaking amazing. Being a sales rep is so much easier than it was 10 years ago when I was like making 100 dials a day. Like, it's preposterous. Like, now we're nearing the point where you don't even have to do any admin in your CRM at all. Mm-hmm. And Win.ai or Sift will probably do this for CRM at some point. It's like they'll just automate it all and you just leave a voicemail and you can there's great tools like Contact Science, which a lot of MSPs really like, that can make the workflow so easy that it's like 15 seconds of admin at most between calls. Yeah, they've got it pretty dialed.
Excellent. And for those of you that did not see it yet, I did put up another poll. Brian is a wealth of knowledge on sales. So if you're interested in even just a chat with him, you can note that on the poll. Or you can just say, Brian, please, where do I sign? Shut up and take my money. That's an option too. But yeah, so I'll leave that one up for another moment or so. Um, Earlier, somebody asked percentages. I'm looking for that. Do you have any of these numbers on closing percent on inbound leads? We currently do very little outbound. This usually brings us 2 to 5 leads per week. I'm working on getting an SDR to handle these, and I'm wondering what KPIs I should be tracking for this.
They're getting 2 to 5 inbound leads a week.
Yes. I don't know if an SDR needs to manage 2 to 5 leads a week.
Well, can you tell me what that means? What does a lead mean? And what is your definition of lead when it comes in? What action have they taken? That's really going to inform the answer to my question. While we're waiting for David to answer that, as a quick aside, I appreciate you saying what you're saying, Steve, about people wanting to talk to me. I don't let every MSP into my program. Just as a side note, I have to interview you. It's in 10 minutes. I'll ask you 5, 6 questions. I'll tell you what my program costs, what the time commitment is. And if you are serious about growing, then I'll show you the program. But I am not a throw money at this and then it goes away. I am not a done for you. I have no interest in those conversations. So you're welcome to call me. And even if you just want advice, I'll do that. But my average client is bringing on 1.2 net new MRR clients in 90 days. We have now what we call the 60-day club, where they pay off our program in 60 days. Many of them are 10, 20x ROI on the cost of the program because they're doing what the program elicits. But if you're like, oh, can I just like passively get something and then Brian brings me signed contracts? That doesn't exist. And so I don't do it. Just want to set that record straight while we were waiting for the answer.
All good. And then, you know what? I didn't even think to check. David Mahoney is not even here anymore. He had to step out. So we won't be getting an answer to that question. Joseph gave some metrics on his SDRs that they're currently meeting or exceeding: 15 qualified appointments a month, 700 to 900 outbound calls, 700 to 900 outbound emails, 70 to 120 LinkedIn touches. So that's potentially almost 2,000 touches a month for 15 qualified appointments.
So it's about 100 touches a day. 15 qualified appointments per rep is better than I have ever done. So keep doing exactly what you're doing. If you're getting, let me say it another way. If you're getting 15 qualified touches per rep, then you should be teaching this seminar, because you should be converting 5 of those per rep. So is David working for a national platform, or how big is the sales team?
This is Joseph, actually.
Oh, Joseph, sorry.
Joseph Richards. He's still
Joseph,
here.
These become my questions. If you're going on there's only 21 business days in a month. So you're going on almost a meeting a day per rep. If you have more than 1 rep, now you're going on 2 reps, you're going on 1.5 FTAs a day. Then you should, even if you close at 10%, you're bringing on 36 clients a year, which is way more than the average MSP can handle operationally. So that's where some of my, I don't want to say confusion is coming, but our
IZT Cloud. Okay. So that probably falls under the SaaS metrics, which is more like 20 to 25% instead of 15 to 20, right?
Like closing rate?
No, never mind. I'm getting all my metrics confused. Yeah. That was the how much you're paying your person. But
you should close 20.
Like SaaS is probably easier to sell than really expensive MSP services.
Yes, SaaS. The best SaaS sales reps, like in the channel, for example, convert about 40% of their demos. Average, you're really looking for 25% of your demos. So if you're doing 1 in 4, something like that, you're doing pretty good. Between 1 and 4 and 2 and 5 conversions. But if you're selling VoIP, VoIP is weird. VoIP is like a true commodity unless you package it differently. We sold VoIP and we built it on Asterisk, and we had our own data center space, and it was like super high margin, white glove, that we ended up finding the cheapest way to sell it was sell managed services, because VoIP is like $100 a click on pay-per-click ads. It's like the most competitive, it's way more competitive. It's so freaking expensive to advertise for VoIP that outbound is great, but it's also like now you're competing with Vonage, Jive, Spectrum. And frankly, like business telephony is kind of going away as UCaaS becomes more and more mainstream. So I'm not saying VoIP is dying. I'm just saying I don't. It's too volatile for me to have real direct answers to your questions, and I don't know how your pricing or what your strategy is for go to market. But I always like the idea of keeping it relatively affordable, but then or doing hey, it's $30 a seat, but if you're an MSP client, it's $20 a seat or something to that effect, because the margin, if you build it yourself, is absurdly high. That's as best as I could do.
Yeah, and you're right. It is difficult to immediately convert to manage. So using VoIP, or in my case, I a lot of times used web hosting and web design, because that was my secondary thing. VoIP was always cool to me, but I was always working with really small companies. So, selling one phone really doesn't move the needle much. But selling a web design, that was typically a $6,000 to $10,000 project with some decent profit margin in there. So
Sure.
Yeah, so I understand completely what you're saying is UCaaS too. So, and then let's see, already has an MSP consultant. Top 3 CRM recommendations separate from the PSA. So it doesn't need to integrate to the PSA, he said.
Okay. I'm looking for independent sales CRMs recommendations example.
Brian Fletcher.
Yeah. If you have more than one sales rep, Brian, my number one recommendation is going to be HubSpot. I think HubSpot is kind of the gold standard for SMBs in any industry, because their UX for sales reps is so fantastic. And it integrates with everything else in your sales and MarTech, like marketing tech stack. It's just really expensive. I think Salesforce is stupid if you're not in enterprise or SaaS. I think HubSpot, the second place recommendation is, honestly, it's a deep second, and I don't mean to ruffle any feathers, but it's probably going to be GlassHive, which does everything fine,
but not great.
Yeah. And you kind of have to pick your poison, it's considerably cheaper. I think we're almost entering into the age now where these tools are so powerful and integrations are so much more accessible now that it almost makes sense to break up your prospecting tool and your deal management into 2 different tools, like a ConnectWise or an AirCall. I mean, I say ConnectWise, I meant Context Science, and AirCall is something to that effect. And then your deal management could be in the PSA, or it could be HubSpot or something. But I would say HubSpot, if I was running an MSP and I had a sales team, I would probably use HubSpot. And then I think GlassHive is fine. I think Go High Level, if you're going to use Go High Level, you should be using MSP sites, or you should be using Growably. You should never buy your own Go High Level and build it from scratch. I think they've both done as best job as they can of making Go High Level not a nightmare, but it's a nightmare of an application. It's a marketing agency tool. It's not a sales team tool. So for that reason, it has all this clunky functionality that's super slow. And then I actually use a CRM called ActiveCampaign, which I don't think is great for MSPs because it doesn't tie to anything. But it's like a much cheaper way of putting email marketing and your deal management into one place. And the automations are pretty good. All my landing pages are built in ActiveCampaign. It's fine. It's cheap. It's considerably cheaper than HubSpot for the same stuff. That's kind of where I'm at. I also think Zoho has done a pretty amazing job at developing a bigger tool. Their price has also gone up a lot in the last 24 months. So I don't know what it is. Zomentum was almost everything we wanted it to be. And then they became a quoting tool or whatever the hell they are now. But they started as like an MSP centric CRM, and I was going to be their biggest ambassador. And now I don't really know what it is now. That's my answer.
No, that's really helpful. Let's see. Joseph Richards, highly recommend alternative payments. Take that all day. Brian, what was the OTE to LTV ratio again? 10 to 20? That's Brian Fletcher, 4:46 p.m.
Yeah. It depends on if they're it really depends, Brian. I'm sorry to have to answer it like that. It depends on if they're an SDR or an account executive. And it depends on a lot of things, that like how much marketing support is going behind the role. I think that you should pay a salesperson almost enough money for them to be comfortable as a base salary. That's the rule of thumb, right? And that changes market to market. A good base is anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 for a sales rep, in bigger markets like mine, it might be 60, 70,000 because I live in Los Angeles. But if you're in like whatever, Cheyenne, Wyoming or something, is that Wyoming, Montana? You're in one of those markets.
Actually, no.
It's smaller. Like, I don't know what it should be tethered to cost of living. It should be above minimum wage because it's a really hard job. It should be just below what they need in order to be comfortable. But you should just pay their bills. Because if you are just making it, then at least you don't have you're not going to be in survival mode, but you're not going to be comfortable. That's the sweet spot, I think, for a sales rep. And if you're looking for an account executive if they're sourcing deals and they're closing deals, I think I did it right. I think Cheyenne is Wyoming. Now everybody's distracted by the Wyoming thing.
No, you know what I'm distracted by is that Albuquerque is one of the top cities that WITSEC sends people to. So I just keep seeing Albuquerque and I'm going, no, he's the one, not Todd Middlebrooks.
Right. Brian Fletcher. That could be a WITSEC for sure.
I completely derailed you. I'm sorry.
I know, Brian. Brian, we met at ScaleCon. It's good to see you, man. I'm trying my best to answer your question. What I did is I built a comp plan calculator for our members where it's like, what's their base salary? You want to work backwards from their quota. So OTE is a result of you hitting your quota. So then you need to ask yourself, what is your average deal size? What's your closing ratio? How many leads do you think they're going to generate? And put all that into an Excel sheet and see if they get me a meeting a week and that can turn into one client a month. If my average MRR is 4,000 and I want to pay them 1 month's MRR, then that means their average quota is going to be 48,000 at quota. That's what they'll earn in commission. I'm assuming you're only paying them on monthly recurring. And now if you want to give them another cut of 50% of that, if they renew the contract or a year later, or if you spread it out, all of those things are fine. If you want to give them a cut of onboarding fee, that's fine. A lot of people do that just to cash flow the commission. So I would then say the better relationship rather than OTE to LTV, what you should be looking at is base to commission percentage in OTE. That's a better statistic for you to be building around. And your base should never be more than 60% of an OTE. So if they're going to make $48,000, then that you could probably get them about 110, 120, 100 to 110,000 OTE and pay them $60,000 in base. Plus you can earn 48K when you hit your goals. And then anything above, I highly recommend either bonuses or a multiplier. Because once they've hit that number, you know that they're paying for themselves so that you can afford to pay them a lot more on above that number. And that's one of the ways that you stop deals from getting sandbagged to protect future quotas is you incentivize them to close faster. Because let's say once you've hit your quota of 48K MRR for the year, you earn 100% multiplier. So then you earn 2 months MRR on everything you bring in on top of your quota. and you get to pay it out over 2 or 3 months so that you don't go broke on the cash flow side of it. But then they can earn a lot more by performing more. And that way there's no such thing as a salary cap. Every salary or every commission should be uncapped, but that way you can actually incentivize them to like go source their own leads, find their own business, because it's worth it, because they can get paid double on anything they find themselves because that's above quota and they get paid more.
So good. Well, guys, I'm sure there are still more questions that we've missed. However, I want to be respectful of Brian's time. We are 20 minutes over. Thank you so much, Brian, for popping in here. I really do hope to have you back in the future sometime. Definitely go to actually, yeah, there's in the resources section here. You should see the Get Clarity link if you guys did not check it out earlier. But yeah, go check out that page, and then I'll also include that in the follow-up email, Brian, so that way
Cool.
they all get that for you. Okay.
Yeah, it's free. It's a couple of resources that are there just for you, and I think you might have to give your email for some of them. You might not. I might even already have your email, but it's 100% free. Just some resources to help you out.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for popping in here, and we will catch you all at the next webinar. Take care, guys.